What if the freedom you woke up with this morning came at the cost of somebody else never waking up again?
Who am I when the lights go low? Who am I when the world says no? Searching through my past, trying to free my soul, one truth at a time, letting every story unfold.
What if the freedom you woke up with this morning came at the cost of somebody else never waking up again? What if the peace in your neighborhood, the sound of your children laughing outside, the ability to walk into a church, speak your mind, start your business, raise your family, chase your dream, and become who God created you to be? What if all of that came with a name attached to it? Not just a flag, not just a uniform, not just a folded piece of cloth handed to a grieving mother, father, husband, wife, son, or daughter, but a name, a real person, somebody who had dreams, somebody who had plans, somebody who had a family waiting for them, somebody who said, "I'll go," knowing there was a possibility they may never come back. Today, we're not just talking about a holiday. We are not just talking about a 3-day weekend. We are not just talking about barbecue, sales, cookouts, road trips, and a day off of work. Today, we are talking about Memorial Day. And Memorial Day is sacred. It is a day to pause, a day to remember, a day to honor, a day to look at the lives of men and women who gave their final breath in service to this country and ask ourselves one powerful question. Am I living in a way that honors the sacrifices made before me? Because somebody gave their tomorrow so we could stand in ours today. So welcome back to the Who Am I podcast, where we don't just ask surface level questions. We ask the kind of questions that makes us stop, reflect, and examine the life we are living. And today's question is not comfortable. Today's question is not something we can just scroll past. Today's question is, who am I becoming with the freedom someone else died to protect? See, Memorial Day is observed on the last Monday in May. And according to the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs, it is the nation's foremost annual day to mourn and honor service members who died in service to this country. See, it was originally known as Decoration Day and was formalized after the Civil War in 1868. See, that simply means that this day was never meant to be empty. It was never meant to be just another day on the calendar. It was meant to be a national day of pause, a sacred interruption, a reminder that freedom has never been free. It has always had a cost, and somebody paid it. Before you celebrate, remember. Now, let me say this clearly. There is nothing wrong with enjoying your family on Memorial Day. There is nothing wrong with grilling. There is nothing wrong with laughing. There is nothing wrong with gathering around the table. There is nothing wrong with taking a breath from work, stress, and responsibility. But before we light the grill, we need to light a candle in our hearts. Before we fill our plates, we need to remember the empty seats. Before we enjoy the freedom, we need to honor the fallen. Because somewhere there is a family that hears Memorial Day differently. For some, Memorial Day means a sale at the mall. It means a name on the wall. For some, Memorial Day means vacation. For others, Memorial Day means visitation at a gravesite. For some, Memorial Day means an extra day to sleep in. And for others, it means waking up with the same pain they have carried for years. The pain of a mother remembering her son. The pain of a father remembering his daughter. A pain of a wife remembering her husband. A pain of a husband remembering his wife. A pain of children remembering a parent who never came home. And that is why we must be careful not to reduce the sacred sacrifice to casual convenience. Because this day is about people who served and never returned. Army men and women, Navy men and women, Air Force men and women, Marines men and women, Coast Guard, Space Force, men and women from every branch, every background, every race, every state, every walk of life. Some were young, some had just started life. Some had children they would never see grow up. Some had wedding rings they would never wear again. Some had letters in their pockets. Some had prayers on their lips. Some had fear in their heart, but courage in their feet. And they still went. They still served, still stood. They still sacrificed. They had dreams too. Sometimes when we talk about sacrifice, we make it sound distant. We use words like fallen heroes, and that is true. But before they were fallen heroes, they were living people. They had favorite songs, favorite foods, childhood memories, inside jokes, dreams, plans. They wanted to come home. They wanted to hug somebody again. They wanted to sit at the table again. They wanted to hear somebody say, "I'm glad you're back." But they gave up their tomorrow for our today. And when you really sit with that, it changes how you look at your life. Because how dare we waste what somebody else died protecting? How dare we spend our lives complaining about opportunities that others never got to see? How dare we live casually with freedoms that were purchased through blood, tears, discipline, courage, and loss? Now, I'm not saying you have to live perfect. None of us are perfect. I'm not saying you won't have bad days. I'm not saying you won't struggle. I'm not saying life won't get heavy. But I am saying this. Don't waste your life. Don't waste your voice. Don't waste your gift. Don't waste your family. Don't waste your calling. Don't waste your opportunity to become better. Because somebody never made it home and you did. Somebody didn't get another sunrise, but you did. Somebody didn't get another chance to say, "I love you," but you did. Somebody didn't get another moment to make things right, but you did. So what are you going to do with it? So let's talk about the Tuskegee Airmen, the courage they had under pressure. And when we talk about sacrifice, we cannot forget those who had to fight battles on two fronts. They fought the enemy overseas and they fought racism at home. I'm talking about men like the Tuskegee Airmen. The Tuskegee Airmen were America's first Black military pilots. Their journey began at Moton Field in Tuskegee, Alabama, where the Army Air Corps tested whether African Americans could be trained to fly combat aircraft. Now think about that. They were willing to risk their lives for a country that did not always treat them like full citizens. They wore the uniform of a nation that still made them sit in the back. They defended freedoms abroad that they were still fighting to fully experience at home. See, that is a different kind of courage. That is not just physical strength. That is spiritual endurance. That is emotional discipline. That is purpose under pressure. That is saying, I will not let how you treat me determine how I serve. According to the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture says the Tuskegee Airmen epitomize courage and heroism. And their story is bigger than their legendary success escorting American bombers over Nazi Germany. And let's talk about that. See, these men were called the Red Tails because of their distinctive red paint on the tails of their aircraft. They flew into danger. They escorted bombers. They protected lives in the sky. They had to prove themselves over and over again. See, the National Museum of the United States Air Force records that the Tuskegee Airmen flew 311 missions, including 179 bomber escort missions from June 1944 through the end of the World War II. But here is what moves me the most. They were not just fighting bullets. They were fighting doubt. They were fighting discrimination. They were fighting a system that questioned their intelligence, their courage, their ability, and their worth. And yet they still flew. They still rose. They still served. They still made history. They still speaks to somebody listening right now. Maybe you have been underestimated. Maybe you have been overlooked. Maybe people question if you had what it takes. Maybe they looked at your background, your race, your past, your mistake, your zip code, your education, your struggle, and tried to decide your future. But the Tuskegee Airmen reminds us this. You can fly even when others try to ground you. You can rise even when others try to reduce you. You can serve with excellence even when people refuse to acknowledge your value. They gave us more than military history. They gave us a mirror that asks, are you letting opposition stop you? Are you letting unfair treatment make you bitter? Are you allowing rejection to bury your assignment? Because some people had every reason to quit. They did, but they chose purpose. They chose discipline, excellence, courage. They chose to fly. Sacrifice has many faces. See, when we talk about Memorial Day, we honor those who died in service, but we also have to recognize that their sacrifice created a ripple effect. Because when one service member gives their life, an entire family feels the impact. A spouse loses a partner, children loses a parent, parents loses a child, siblings loses a brother or sister, friends lose someone they thought would grow old with them. Communities loses leaders, churches lose members, neighborhoods lose sons and daughters. Schools loses former students. A nation loses people who still had more life to live. And some sacrifice do not end when the battlefield gets quiet. There are families who still set a place in their hearts for someone who is gone. There are families still waiting for answers. According to the Defense POW MIA accounting agencies, continues the mission of providing the fullest possible accounting for missing personnel from past conflicts, including World War II, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, the Cold War, the Gulf Wars, and other conflicts. So that means remembrance is not just history. It is ongoing. There are still names, still families, stories, people waiting, people grieving, people hoping. So when we say they gave their tomorrow for our today, we are not using a cute phrase. We are telling the truth. We really are. Somebody's tomorrow was sacrificed. Somebody's future was interrupted. Somebody's life was laid down. And because of that, we have a responsibility, not guilt, but a responsibility, not shame, but purpose, not sadness only, but gratitude that moves us into action. So, what do we do with the freedom? Now, here is where this episode turns inward, because it is one thing to honor sacrifice with our words. It is another thing to honor sacrifice with our lives. We can post the flag. We can say thank you for your service. We can attend a ceremony. We can share a quote. And those things can be meaningful. They really can. But the deeper question is this: how am I living? Am I living with purpose? Am I using my freedom wisely? Am I building, or am I just complaining? Am I serving others, or am I only serving myself? Am I honoring sacrifices through actions, or am I just enjoying the benefits without carrying the responsibility? Because freedom is not just permission to do whatever we want. Freedom is an opportunity to do what matters. It gives us the space to build, to heal, to grow, to serve, to worship, to speak, to create, to lead, to love, to become. And when we waste freedom, we dishonor the sacrifice. When we spend our days trapped in bitterness, refusing to grow, refusing to forgive, refusing to try, refusing to take responsibility, we are living beneath what was paid for. Listen, I know life gets hard. I know grief is real. I know disappointment is heavy. I know bills pile up. I know dreams get delayed. I know people hurt you. I know some seasons make you feel like you are barely making it. But if you are still breathing, there is still assignment in you. If you are still here, there is still purpose in you. If you woke up today, that means today still has something to say to your life. So don't waste today. Don't keep waiting for perfect conditions. Don't wait until you feel confident. Don't wait until everybody believes in you again. Don't wait until fear disappears. Don't wait until the pain gets easy. The people we honor on Memorial Day did not wait for easy. They walked into hard, they stood in danger, they answered the call, and now we must answer ours. Sometimes the best way to say thank you is not with your mouth. It is with your movement. You say thank you by becoming disciplined. You say thank you by loving your family well. You say thank you by serving your community. You say thank you by refusing to waste your gift. You say thank you by using your voice for good. You say thank you by mentoring somebody. You say thank you by being a better husband, a better wife, a better father, a better mother, a better leader, a better friend, a better neighbor. You say thank you by living a life that has weight, a life that has meaning, a life that does not just consume freedom, but contributes to the world freedom made possible. Because purpose is not always loud. Sometimes purpose is showing up when nobody claps. Sometimes purpose is being consistent when nobody sees it. Sometimes purpose is raising your children with integrity. Sometimes purpose is breaking generational cycles. Sometimes purpose is getting help instead of pretending you are okay. Sometimes purpose is going back to school. Sometimes purpose is starting the business. Sometimes purpose is apologizing, forgiving. Sometimes purpose is choosing not to quit Sometimes purpose is waking up and saying, God, if you gave me another day, help me not waste it. That is how we honor sacrifice. Not by living perfectly, but by living intentionally. So I want you to picture something. Take your mind here with me. Imagine a folded flag, neatly pressed, carefully held, presented to a grieving family. There are few images more powerful than that, because that folded flag represents honor, but it also represents absence. It represents service, but it also represents silence. It represents courage, but it also represents cost. And somebody receives that flag with trembling hands. And in that moment, the nation says, we are grateful. But that family still has to go home. That family still has to look at the empty chair. That family still has to live with a birthday that feels different. The holiday that feels different, the anniversary that feels different, the song that brings tears, the picture that stops time, the uniform that still carries memories. So we talk about Memorial Day. Let's not speak lightly. So when we talk about Memorial Day, let's not speak lightly. Let's not rush past the grief. Let's not forget the families. Let's not forget the mothers who prayed, the fathers who waited, the spouses who stayed strong, the children who had to grow up with stories instead of footsteps, the brother and sisters who still remembers the sound of their laugh. Sacrifice truly does have a sound. Sometimes it sounds like taps being played in the distance. Sometimes it sounds like a mother crying quietly. Sometimes it sounds like silence at a dinner table. Sometimes it sounds like a child asking questions no one should have to answer. And yet, out of that sacrifice we have today. So what will we do with it? Here's the strong truth. A person can die physically, but their sacrifice can keep speaking. Their courage can still speak. Their service can still speak. Their name can still speak. Their example can still speak. But only if we listen. We have to listen. Only if we remember. We have to remember. Only if we live differently because of it. Because remembrance is not passive. Real remembrance changes behavior. If I remember what it cost, I move differently. If I remember what was sacrificed, I speak differently. If I remember the blood, the tears, the prayers, the uniforms, the graves, the folded flags, the missing seats, then I cannot live carelessly. I cannot just drift through life. I cannot spend all my energy on things that do not matter. I cannot allow pettiness to consume me. I cannot allow fear to silence me. I cannot allow comfort to kill my calling because somebody gave everything. So maybe today is the day we stop making excuses. Maybe today is the day we stop wasting time. Maybe today is the day we stop waiting for someone else to push us. Maybe today is the day we stop living beneath our potential, maybe today is the day we look in the mirror and say, I owe it to God. I owe it to my family. I owe it to those who came before me. And I owe it to myself to live with purpose. So here is a brief word to those who served and those who grieve. Now, I want to pause and speak directly to the families of the fallen service members. See, we honor you, we see you. We know that Memorial Day may carry a weight that words cannot fully explain. Your loved one's sacrifice is not forgotten. Their names, their stories, their service matters. Their life matters. Their life matters. And to every veteran listening who lost someone beside you, someone you served with, someone whose memory still visits you, we honor that weight too. Sometimes people see the uniform, but they do not see the memories. They do not see the faces you carry. They do not see the moments you replay. They do not see the names that still live in your heart. So today, we do not just honor the fallen, we stand with those who remember them personally. And we say this: may their memory be honored. May their sacrifice be respected. May their families be strengthened. May their stories be told. And may we never become so comfortable with freedom that we forget what it costs. So I want you to sit with this question. I want you to sit with this question. Ask yourself, am I living in a way that honors the sacrifices made before me? Not just the sacrifice of the military heroes, but every sacrifice, the ancestors who endured, the parents who worked two jobs, the teachers who believed in you, the mentors who corrected you, the spouse who stood by you, the friend who prayed for you, the service member who died protecting our freedoms you now enjoy. Am I honoring that, or am I wasting what they gave? Am I living with gratitude or entitlement? Am I living with purpose or distractions? Am I building something meaningful or just passing time? Am I becoming someone my future self will respect? Or am I letting fear, laziness, bitterness, or excuses rob me of my assignment? See, that is the question today. Not just what did they die for, but what am I living for? Because if they gave their tomorrow for our today, then we have to stop treating today like it is nothing. Today is a gift. Today is an opportunity. Today is a responsibility. Today is a chance to love better, to lead better, to serve better, to forgive quicker, to work harder, to dream bigger, to pray deeper, to live cleaner, to stand stronger, and become who we were created to be. So here is my challenge to you. After this episode, don't just say, that was deep. Do something. Call someone you love. Visit a memorial. Look up the story of a fallen service member. Learn about the Tuskegee Airmen. Teach your children what Memorial Day really means. Take a moment of silence. Pray for Gold Star families. Serve somebody. Forgive somebody. Start again. Make a decision you have been putting off. Because gratitude without action becomes emotion without evidence. If you are grateful, live like it. If you are thankful, move like it. If you understand the cost, carry yourself differently, walk like your life matter, speak like your words matter, serve like your community matters, love like time is not promised, because it isn't. Somebody thought they had more time. Somebody thought they would come home. Somebody thought they would have another birthday, another laugh, another dinner, another Sunday morning, another chance, but they did not. And we did. So let's not waste it. Let's not waste it. Remember this. They gave their tomorrow for our today. Now, the question is, what will we do with today? Will we waste it? Will we complain through it? Will we scroll through it? Will we sleepwalk through it? Will we let fear rule it? Will we let excuses bury it? Or will we rise? Will we remember? Will we honor? Will we live with purpose? Will we say, because someone sacrificed, I will not take this life for granted? I don't know who needs to hear this right now, but your life still has meaning. Your story is not over. Your assignment is not finished. Your future is not canceled. Your pain does not get the final word. Your fear does not get the final word. You are still here. And as long as you are still here, you still have something to give. So give it, live, build, serve, love, lead, grow, become. And when you feel like quitting, remember the ones who did not quit even when the cost was everything. Remember the Tuskegee Airmen who flew while fighting racism and war. Remember the soldiers who marched. Remember the sailors who sailed. Remember the airmen who flew. Remember the Marines who stood. Remember the Coast Guardsmen who protected. Remember every man and woman who put on the uniform and never made it home. Remember the families who still carry their memories. And then look in the mirror and ask, am I living in a way that honors the sacrifices made before me? Because they gave their tomorrow for our today. Now let's make today count. So remember this: we honor, we reflect, we recommit ourselves to living lives of purpose, gratitude, responsibility, and service. So to every fallen service member, we honor you. To every family carrying the weight of loss, we stand with you. To every listener, don't waste the day you have been given. Freedom costs somebody everything. So live like your life means something. So who am I? Today, I am someone who remembers, and because I remember, I will live with purpose. So before we move forward, I want you to pause for just a moment. Take a breath. Wherever you are, whatever you're carrying, this next part is for you. Let's speak life over ourselves out loud if you can. Because what we say in this moment has the power to shift how we walk into the rest of our day. So let's begin with our affirmation. I am not defined by my past, nor limited by my mistakes. I am growing, learning, and becoming who I was created to be. I have values beyond titles, roles, and expectation. I choose honesty over fear and growth over comfort. I am allowed to change, heal, and evolve. I walk with purpose, clarity, and courage. I am becoming more aligned with my true self every day. And who I am is enough. So as we close today's episode, I want to thank you for taking this time for yourself. If something you heard inspired you, challenged you, or made you pause and reflect, please don't keep it to yourself. Share this episode with someone who may need it. Invite them into the conversation. See, this podcast grows when we grow together. I cannot do this without you. See, we grow together through shared stories, honest reflections, and real connections. Every listen, every share, every conversation helps create a community rooted in purpose, rooted in love, rooted in hope, rooted in faith, rooted in trust and truth. So until next time, keep reflecting, keep becoming, and remember, you matter. This is the Who Am I podcast, and let's walk this journey together.
Who am I? Yeah, I'm more than the pain. Who am I? More than the pride. Who am I? Who am I? Walking in purpose, no mask, no disguise. This is my voice, my rise, my life. Welcome to Who Am I?